Hello and welcome to The Evolutionary. My name is David Knox. I'm still your host, and I'm so excited to be here today and welcome you to the second live solo cast that I have put together for you. So first, I'm going to talk about desire as a tool to navigate and accelerate your becoming. And then I'm going to give you an update on our travels and our time here in Southern England, which has been magical so far. So stay tuned for that. And in the interim there, in the middle there, I'm going to squeeze in just a couple of minutes of housekeeping. Now, the first thing that I want to say is I normally start off with a segment called Good News and Fresh Perspectives. I do that on the LiveStream / after party with guests. And I also do that. I did that last time on my solo as well. Well, this time I'm not going to forego that, but really this whole thing is a fresh perspective. Hopefully for many people, it's going to be a fresh perspective. Actually, I hope it's not. I hope all of this is old news and you're already using it in your life, and that's going to be awesome. But if not, this is going to be a fresh perspective for you and hopefully give you a little bit of a new way to look at the world and a new way to use some of the aspects of the human experience. And so with that, we are going to dive right into it. So the first question is, why are we talking about desire? All right, so the reason we're talking about desire, let me back into this a little bit. You might have heard in a solo cast or two that we are a holographic fractal expression of an intelligent, creative, consciously evolutionary universe. And as that expression of the universe, its nature is our nature. And by the way, one of the things that we know about the universe that most of the scientific disciplines agree upon is that it is evolutionary. And so if it is its nature to evolve, it is our nature to evolve. And so this is what it's going to drive us to do relentlessly. But we're also created as creative beings with self-awareness and free will. And so that kind of changes the game a little bit. So now the game, instead of just to evolve, which biological organisms have been doing on this planet for 3 billion years, it's to evolve with intention at the level of the individual, which is something possibly new for the human species, or at least for species on this planet. And so this is what the universal mind seems to be driving us to do, evolve with intention. Thing is, the universe seems more interested in inciting our evolution than just about anything else, including our happiness, health, and wealth. Now, I know that sounds like blasphemy in the spirit head community. I mean, what about the loving divine spirit who is nurturing and abundant? Well, it's true. The universe is loving and nurturing and abundant, and frankly would gladly give us all of the happiness, health, and wealth that we want, but not at the expense of our evolution. So the message here is that you can have all of the happiness, health, and wealth that you desire, but you have to start evolving yourself with intention. So that the universe doesn't have to incite it by giving you crappy circumstances, so that you don't have to keep on learning the same old lessons over and over again, so that you can trade in your challenges for better challenges. I mean, you're going to have challenges. That's just the way life is set up. But if you get involved and start designing your own evolutionary trajectory and curriculum in co-creation with the universal mind, of course, you're going to get better challenges. I mean, you can take something like, I can't make the rent, and that's a challenge, obviously, to how am I going to manage all of this money, which is also a challenge. I mean, look at all the lottery winners and people with big sports contracts that have gone broke. You can also trade in something like, I'm lonely and I want a life partner, which is a challenge, to I have to learn how to live with another human being, because that's a challenge no matter how awesome they are. Okay, cool. So we need to evolve with intention, and there are countless benefits to doing so, up to and including being a catalyst for the evolution of humanity, right? But how do we do this? How do we evolve with intention? Well, there's a process that works for most people, and it's pretty straightforward. And it starts with learning to utilize our desire in a specific way. And desire is actually just one of four main aspects of the human experience that we talk about in the evolutionary and that we work with in the evolutionary. And if we learn to utilize these four aspects of our humanness with intention and a certain skill level, anyone's life will be transformed. And what those aspects of humanity are, the aspects of human experience that I'm talking about, are desire, which we're talking about today, belief, which is our worldview. It's everything that we believe about everything. Consumption, meaning consumption of all information in any way, and expression, and that's the way we show up in the world, is everything that we think, feel, say, and do. And each of these individually is a hard-hitting, powerful tool of transformation, but when taken holistically and aligned to a single passionate intention, they can be used to work flat-out magic. And in a sense, desire is the most important one because it helps us define and refine that passionate intention. And by the way, we're putting together a workshop where you can learn how to work with each of these four aspects of the human experience from that holistic perspective and really bring that magic into your life. That workshop should be ready to go by October or November at the latest. Stay tuned for that. And back to desire, though. Desire gets a bad rap. It's been extremely maligned, mostly by religion, but really by any structure of power that is wanting to control us. They tell us it's evil. They tell us that we should subjugate it. Well, this is a tragic view because it demonizes and discards one of the greatest gifts given to humanity. The real purpose of desire, the reason it's been hardwired into the human experience, is to help us navigate and accelerate our personal evolution and thereby the evolution of our species. In other words, we can live a better life and change the world simply as a side effect. Okay. So desire is actually a catalyst. It incites action by amplifying and focusing passion and prana and life force energy. But it also gives that impassioned action a specific directionality because, as you all know very well from your own life experiences, without a focal point, it's nearly impossible to achieve anything because the world is full of clever and pernicious distractions that will subsume all of our time, attention, and energy, which is, of course, our primary resource, unless we have a focal point to help us cut right through all of it. And desire can help us do that. Okay, so let me give you a preview of how this fits together. Desire is going to help us define what we're going to call our North Star. It's the intentional becoming that we keep in our sight, that we always move towards. In the workshop we're designing, we'll be doing some exercises to get extremely clear on your vision for your life and for your world. And we'll use that vision as your North Star, the point to which you always navigate, even through life's twists and turns. And then we're going to learn how to align with the other three aspects of the human experience: belief, our worldview, consumption of information in all of its forms, and the way we express into the world. And we're going to align all of that with that North Star vision that we create. Now, it's pretty interesting that of the four aspects of the human experience that we're working with, the last three, belief, consumption, and expression, are really pretty well aligned with each other for most people, right? Because think about it. So belief, we also call that worldview in all the solo casts, has an enormous impact on the information we take in or consume and on the information that we then spit back out or express. It filters the incoming information down to a trickle of what it would be, and then it literally changes our perception of it, usually in order to make it fit our belief systems. And then it literally dictates everything that we think, feel, say, and do in response. And just to ice the cake, our beliefs define our field of possibility. So a constricted worldview will yield very little possibility, which is kind of a shitty headspace to occupy. Judgments aside, You can see how and why belief, consumption, and expression would naturally be aligned in the human experience. It's kind of an automatic mechanism because they feed each other. But then when we get to desire, our true desire is not in alignment with our beliefs for the vast majority of us, not in alignment with our consumption either, or our expression. So we have consumption and expression and beliefs in a column over here nicely aligned, and then we've got our true desires somewhere else, which means that we are not aligned with our true self. And most people will not readily admit that, won't really readily admit this. In fact, they might not even be aware of it. They won't admit it to themselves. They won't admit it to anyone else. So the desires that they will talk about are in alignment with the other three: their belief, consumption, and expression. Because as mentioned, belief dictates possibility. And if they don't have a worldview that allows for their true desires to even be possible, then they have to do their best to keep those desires out of their conscious awareness. And instead, they pretend to want something else that is possible in their limited worldview. Right? Because only a crazy person would openly desire that which is impossible, which is why we're going to start with desire and getting to our true desire regardless of our current worldview. And then we're going to work to open up our worldview to allow for the possibility of our desire to come to fruition in a harmonious way. And that's some deep work because we're talking about changing our worldview. But it's rewarding work because changing your worldview changes your world. And then, of course, speaking of deep work, we roll up our sleeves and start getting serious about our consumption and our expression. These all have to align with our desire. They have to align with the life and the world that we're intending to create. They have to align with our intended becoming. And when they do, buckle up and hold on, because there are some big life changes coming and they're going to probably be awesome. And so this can be some gritty work. I mean, we're talking about breaking old habitual ways of thinking, speaking, feeling, acting, and then reforming new ones. And we're talking about changing the information that we consume every day. And we're talking about changing our belief systems and then putting new ones into place that support the fruition of our true desire. But in doing all of this, we're going to learn a skill that sits at the heart of intentional evolution. And that's the ability to change your beliefs at will, to change the information consumption habits that you have, to change the habitual way you're expressing into the world. And I would say to change who you truly are at your core. But I won't say that because it's really about discovering and expressing your true, full nature. And so to that end, I want to give you a little preview of one of the exercises that we're going to do in the workshop. And you can do this right now, by the way, because just doing this can make your whole world start to turn in the direction of your dreams. Okay, so I want you to spend some time with some questions here and really journal them out. And you may have heard these questions before, but we're going to do something a little bit different with the answers. Now, once you have some answers, you're going to need to do 3 things with them to make sure that the seeds of their creation are properly sown into the causal plane. And if you don't know what the causal plane is, I think that was Solocast 11 in the podcast. Okay. So we're actually going to be, I guess you'd say, once we have those answers, reformatting them into something that is more readily actionable for the universal mind. And we'll get into those 3 formatting steps in just 1 minute. But first, let's talk about the journaling prompts I'm going to give you. And this is pretty straightforward. Go ahead and journal this out. But of course, you're not going to have time to do that right now on the fly. I'm not going to give them to you and then sit around and wait. So you can come back to the recording later and give this the proper treatment. But here it is. Question 1, the big question. What do you want your life to be like? Focus on the personal level at first, and I want you to get detailed. Describe the circumstances of the life you desire as clearly as you can. And I'll give you some additional prompts here to help you along. And the first one is a big one. This is a way to think about life. what do you want to experience and create in your life? Experience and creation, that could actually be the sum total of your life from a certain perspective. Also, where do you want to live? How much money do you want to make? How do you want to spend your time? What kind of work do you want to be doing? What does a perfect week look like for you? What are your relationships like? What is your community like? Okay. Next, I want you to add some details, some big picture details. Specifically, I want you to describe the context in which this perfect life is being lived. In other words, what is your world like? This is important for a couple of reasons. One is that when we try to visualize our perfect life, but we think that the world is on the brink of chaos, we experience cognitive dissonance, because it's not a great life if you're constantly waiting for the world to fall apart. You need to cultivate a vision for the world that will nurture your great life. And you need to believe that it's possible, even probable. And getting there is part of the evolutionary process that we'll be covering in the workshop. So take some time, journal that out, probably come back and listen to this again. And what you want to do is get a vision, a grand vision, a cohesive vision for the life that you want to live and the world that you want to live in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take that and we're going to do some reformatting so that we can put it into a more actionable form for the universal mind to work with. But you need to do all three of these and do them every time. And here we go. The first one is very simple, and it is ask for what you want. Ask for what you desire, make it official. This is like filling out the form in the office, the request form. Make it official. Don't skip this step, because asking is a powerful, energetic gesture that opens up your field to receiving. And it gives the universe options for divine gifts, just in case it happens to be in the mood. Because let's face it, the universe loves the shit out of you. And while it usually will stay focused on helping you to evolve, and that doesn't always come through like, really fluffy, fun gifts, sometimes it's just going to want to give you some of those gifts, big and small and whatever, just to see your precious reaction, just like you would to your child. So go ahead and ask for what you want. You're going to get some of it. And in fact, you're going to get the stuff that you're really, truly ready for. But then there's something that we can talk about to tweak the action, tweak this a little bit more to make it a little more actionable for the universal mind. And it has to do with the energy of wanting. So the energy of wanting will often just bring us more wanting, right? Because we all know this, that we walk through this life basically surrounded by mirrors, in that it's constantly reflecting back to us that which we express out into it. So to take this to the next level, we really need to change the format. And so step 2 is to make it about your becoming, right? We're going to change it and make it about our evolution instead of, getting these overt gifts regarding things and circumstances. You're going to say, instead of asking for a thing specifically, you'll say something along the lines of, make me into the person who would naturally attract and sustain that circumstance or those things or whatever. For instance, make me into an award-winning artist, make me into a world-class speaker, a CEO, a brilliant inventor, a magnet for money, etc. Make it about your becoming. And in doing so, we focus the request on the thing that seems to be of the greatest interest to the universe, our evolution. And this will get us better traction, because now we're playing the game that the universe has been wanting to play with us our whole lives. And although we have one more step to do, don't skip this step. It's a vital step. Okay. So why do we have one more step? We have one more step because this format still has a flavor of wanting in it, doesn't it? We're asking to become something, which means that we are not that now, right? And so the other thing that this has is an element of time in it. And, I hear that there's a rumor going around that the mind of the all, the universal mind, exists in a dimension of timelessness. So we need to go ahead and pander to this aspect of the universe, I guess, because it's effective. I don't know why it's effective. Probably because it leverages your own timeless, infinite nature. After all, you are a holographic fractal representation of the universe. And if the universe is timeless and infinite, then so are you on some level. So perhaps this last step taps into that truth of your timeless, infinite nature. Either way, it works, and so we're going to do it, and here it is. The last step in reformatting your North Star desire is this. The energy that the universe will respond to fastest and strongest is the energy of I am. Now, in the workshop, we're going to talk about this idea of getting into the energetic ground of being that resonates in unison with your intended becoming. And that's really what we're doing here. It's what we're talking about with the I am statement. And so, for example, if my North Star desire is to have 1 million people in my network, then my first request is, hey, Universal Mind, I would like 1 million people in my network. Subscribers, followers, friends, doesn't matter. And then the second step would be to say, hey, Universal Mind, make me into a person that 1 million people feel compelled to connect with. And make me into a person who is open to connecting with 1 million people. And then the final step would be, today I am connecting with 1 million people. Today I am connected with 1 million people. And then the final thing is to do your best to act like that person, talk like that person, think like that person all day. Today I am an award-winning artist. Today I am a CEO of a major corporation. Today I am in a healthy love relationship. Today I am affluent. Today I am loved. You're literally practicing being that person. And the most important part of this is the subtle energy in your field, which means that you have to feel it. So in all of this, the key is to find the feeling of that life that you desire and practice feeling it. And its fruitions will unfold. And it's best if you meditate on this to start your day. And if you don't meditate, today is a great place to start. Now, there's a specific technique that we'll do in the workshop, but there are lots of ways to do it. As long as you take time to find the feeling as the precursor to your day. In fact, I do this multiple times a day. Before I create anything, I get my ground of being sorted out first, because it's the energy that we carry into any task or endeavor that will determine its outcome. So do the inner work, find the feeling of the person who lives the life you desire, and become that person from the inside out, and the trappings of that life will assemble around you. Okay. So that's all I wanted to say on that topic today. I do want to share some stuff about Southern England and about Europe and about crop circles and about our dearly departed friend Nadi. But first I have just 2 minutes of housekeeping, so stick with me for a second. First of all, my next guest is Amy Takaya. She is a Hanasomatic educator and transformation specialist. She will be on the show next week, I think a week from today, is that right? No, 10 days from today, August 28th, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, 5 p.m. London time if you're on the island. After party is not to be missed on this, because Amy is going to do some mini sessions with some of you to help work out your body pain. So a somatic healer at a very high level is someone that starts with body first, and they have the power, their practices have the power to transform your entire experience of life. But it starts with the idea that you have stored tensions, emotions, traumas in your body, and it goes to those. It's not talk therapy, it goes to those, and there's some things that you could do, some techniques that you can do to work those things out, to release them, and to live pain-free. And that also can release the emotions and the traumas that those are tied to. You can release those as well and live a much, much better life. So that is the work that she is in, and she is going to do some one-on-one work, kind of in a group setting though, in the after party. That's going to be amazing. If you want to get into that after party, go to my website at theevolutionary.life, .life, and go to the bottom of any page, put in your details where it says get notified, and guess what? You'll get notified. Cool. The other thing that I wanted to say before we get into the travel stuff is that your support is what keeps the evolutionary conversation going and growing. Of course, your time, attention, and energy, your primary resource, is the best gift that you can give. Thank you so much. Without that, the show is nothing. I appreciate you very deeply. The second thing that you can do is learn to love yourself. I mean, really learn to love yourself. Don't, just chalk it up to, I said it in the mirror today, and walk away. Like, get serious about it. Ask the question, what do you do when you love someone else? What does someone else do when you feel loved? Do that. Practice that. Do that to yourself. Do that for yourself. It's very important, because once you're able to actually treat love as a verb, it's not just a noun. Like, actually actively love yourself. Once you're able to do that, it's going to change. It's going to increase the authenticity with which you're able to carry love out into the world and into your relationships. That's another thing you can do for me. Thank you very much. Also, you can share the evolutionary with your friends and family. Spread the word. Let's get this conversation spread out widely and broadly. And also, you can subscribe on YouTube. That is of material impact to the long-term viability of the show. It's very meaningful to me. Thank you very much. Handle on YouTube is @TheEvolutionaryLife. Please go and subscribe. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And finally, direct financial support is absolutely adored. We got to keep the lights on. There's lots of bills. And so if it's within your means to do so, and you like what we're doing here, please become a contributing member of The Evolutionary. And in doing so, you gain access to all of the after party recordings and any other cool stuff that we decide to put up on that site. And also, as soon as I get swag up, you'll get swag at cost. You can do that by going to The Evolutionary Life. You can do that by going to theevolutionary.life, because .com is so last season. That's theevolutionary.life, and you can click on Get Involved, and you can sign up there. It's very affordable. And lastly, if you want to get notified, just go to the bottom of any page, click on Get Notified, put in your deets. You're going to get notified. That would be wonderful. Thank you very much. Get on the mailing list, as it were. All right, so a quick update from Southern England. So the last time we talked, we were still in the States, and we were in Florida, and Naughty, our dearly departed friend, was very present in our life in a lot of ways. And, so we talked about stuff, and I'm not going to go over it again. That's in the last solo cast. It's up there for you to listen to. It's on YouTube as well. And we talked about crop circles, and we talked about Katie's dream with the aliens and the Juliusette crop circle. And we talked about our trip last year to Southern England and the Stonehenge connection and the White Owl synchronicity. And then we get this sit in Marlborough. And well, it's not in Marlborough, it's outside of Marlborough. And Marlborough it's Marlborough, but they don't say that here. They say Marlborough. So Marlborough is in Wiltshire. And Wiltshire, a shire is a county, I guess, in England, is where most of the crop circles happen. It is the flat out epicenter of the crop circle world. And so we just land this sit, and it's a month long, and we're absolutely stoked about it. And we come over here, but we're just planning on kind of being here, shopping locally, walking everywhere that we need to go. We do that a lot of times. It's a great way to really get to know an area, a village, and also to get a lot done. And it's good for us because we walk a lot and stuff. But then they offered us a car, and I said, oh, well, yeah, we're going to do that. So we got to use their car the whole time we were here. And yes, the steering wheel is still on the wrong side, and the car's on the wrong side of me, and we're on the wrong side of the road. And it's a stick shift. Anyway, sorted that out. It's been absolutely wonderful. Second day we're here. A crop circle shows up 13 miles from the house. And it is a beautiful 7-pointed star formation. I call it the Martin formation because it's literally right next to a little village town thingy called Martin. I mean, these villages around here are dinky. We're talking 20 structures or whatever. But it's right there. And so we get in the stick shift with all the things on the wrong side. And we go and we tried to go in the field, but we didn't do it because we couldn't figure out a way to get into the formation without trampling some wheat. We couldn't find, those tractor tires that the fields have. You got to walk down those so you're not trampling anything. And we weren't about to go trampling on wheat and harming the crop even further. It seemed incredibly disrespectful. So we didn't actually go into the formation on that day, but we did go up a public footpath, what appeared to be a public footpath, was marked as such, up onto a hill right next to it, and got a really nice view of it. And it was really fun. And then on the way back, did I ever tell y'all about the reason that I think that we think that every time we see a hawk that it's Noddy talking to us? There's a pretty good reason for it. It's I know some people are into that, some people aren't. But the day that Noddy died, which was Easter, that was the day we found out. She died the afternoon before. I was standing looking out over at a view of Mount Tam. We were in Marin at the time, and it was a beautiful day, and a butterfly floated across. And I thought, oh yeah, a lot of people think that a butterfly is, they're dearly departed, talking to them. And then I thought, my next two thoughts were, I wonder what Noddy's would be. And then my next thought was, I wonder how I would know. So next thing you know, we left that sit that day, and we're driving down the freeway in the middle of the city, and a hawk swoops in front of the car, banks, shows its belly. It's a beautiful red tail, and then off of the freeway. And I thought, wow, I was so close to the car. I thought that has never happened to me before, first of all. And also, that's amazing because Noddy and I always looked at hawks together. And in fact, her and I and Katie went on a 3-day road trip one time, and Noddy just saw hawks everywhere. And she talked about how that she always does. And so it was very clear to me that was an obvious synchronicity and an arranged one. And so ever since then, God, we've just been assaulted with hawks. They're everywhere. And so we're coming back from this crop circle, and we're going through Marlboro, and a very large brown bird, hawks over here are not the same color, by the way. The red tails are beautiful. They have a tan belly, and then a cool design on the bottom of their wings, and they have red tail feathers, red tail. The hawks over here are more brown. Anyway, a very large brown bird swoops in on the road, swoops in front of the car, as close as I've ever been to a hawk, and then slowly drifts off the road. It's so big that I think it was an eagle. Now, some locals have told me that it wouldn't be a bald eagle. It would have been a golden eagle, or whatever they call them over here. I think it was an eagle. Locals have assured me that there's probably not any eagles around here, and it's probably a very large hawk. So anyway, that was cool. And then moving right along, 10 days later, a second formation shows up even closer to the house. Why, we're in the middle of crop circle country. Is this really that spectacular? And the answer is yeah, because very interestingly, sadly for crop circle aficionados like myself, the crop circle phenomenon has been dwindling. I think we've had 6 this year, 6 or 7 total reported, and we're getting late in the season already. By this time, 10 years ago, there were 30. And this is the lowest one on record since 1981, the lowest reporting rate. And so there could be some other reasons for that, but the fact is that the phenomenon has really decreased. And so the fact that 2 of them have showed up within a 13-mile radius of the house since we've been here, we feel very, very lucky, very fortunate about that. So this one showed up at a place called Etchelhampton Hill. And we went over there, and we found a place to park. There were cars there. We walked up a public footpath and saw into the field, and we were at an angle where you could barely see that there was a crop circle, but we saw people going in and out of the field. So we went in the field. We followed the footpath down. We followed the tractor tire that we saw someone else going up, and we ended up in the middle of this crop circle. And it was a beautiful 6-sided kind of situation where there was a central circle and 6 waves coming out of it. And then there was a circle inside the wave and a circle at the tip of the wave. It was very nicely done. And we got to sit there and enjoy the crop circle. It was a beautiful day with some wispy clouds, and yeah, it was gorgeous. Now, one of the reasons that I wanted to go into the crop circle was I wanted to look at it through the lens of, is this what I would call an authentic crop circle, or is this a man-made crop circle? So what I observed was broken stalks. I didn't see any expulsion nodes. So let me explain. In an authentic crop circle, one that is probably not man-made, there are some phenomena that you see, and one of them is that the stalks have a smooth bend at the bottom, as though they were like reformed, and they're still alive. They're growing, only they're bent over. And the other thing that you would see is you'd see blowouts basically at the elbow. There's a joint on a wheat stalk, and those are expulsion blowouts. They're called expulsion nodes, I think is what they call them. So you would see holes there where it seems like they were heated and they pop like popcorn. Other things that you would see is you'd see a really high degree of accuracy, and then in terms of the lay of the crop, it would be perfect, and sometimes very intricate, and sometimes it would have layers of wheat that were going one way, and then layers of wheat that were going another way, and maybe several different layers of wheat to create some really cool visual imagery from the sky. Not something that would really be possible if you're stumping it down with a board and a rope. Now, I was in this circle, and I did not observe any of those things. So, my impression walking out of it is that it was man-made. Now, I've softened up on that. Instead of saying, yes, I'm sure it's man-made, I'd say, I think it's probably man-made. And the reason I say probably instead of I'm sure is because first of all, how the fuck would I know? And also, we got to visit with a lady named Monique, who started the crop circle and still runs the crop circle museum at Honey Street, which she has been doing for, I think, 15 years now. And she said that unless you get in there basically first, it's kind of like a crime scene. Like, it gets trampled right away, and you can't really make sense of it. So, the lay of the crop is going to get messed up. There's going to be a lot of broken stems and stuff. There would still be expulsion nodes. I didn't see any of those. But another thing that I don't know, because I'm not an aficionado here, is I don't know if expulsion nodes happen on all of the stalks, because it's not like I sampled 100 of them. I just looked at a handful of them. And it could be that they happen here and there now and then in an authentic circle. So could be that it was authentic, and but maybe not, and we're just going to kind of leave it like that. Interestingly enough, on our way out, we're leaving, and we are almost back to the car, and a hawk floats in the air, I don't know, 15, 20 feet above our head. It was outside of the car, outside of the auto incident. That's the closest I've ever been to a live hawk, and it just floated there for us, and it was absolutely stunning, much darker than the American hawks on the west. So, one more thing about crop circles. We went back to the Martin circle, the first one, the beautiful 7-pointed formation, and it was the next day, and we may have seen 3 hawks overhead while we were there during the daylight, scoping it out. We might have been scoping it out so that we could go back to the Martin circle and figure out a way in without damaging the crop. We might have snuck into the field in the middle of the night. We might have laid under the stars in that beautiful, massive 7-pointed formation. It might have been a beautiful, clear night with a few shooting stars and the dusty arm of the Milky Way galaxy stretching across the sky. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for being here, spending some time with me. I appreciate it very much. My name is David Knox. This has been The Evolutionary, and I'll talk to you next time. If you'd like to learn more about The Evolutionary, you can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/theevolutionarylife, or on Instagram at theevolutionarylife, or on the interwebs at theevolutionary.life, because .com is so last season. Thank you again so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff, and I'll talk to you next time.